Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Real Time, where we are live talking about film and television and everything in between. Today, I'm very excited to have joining us Raef from Awakening Music, and we're going to be talking about his latest music video, Dear America. Let's get into it. Again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Mustafa Talib here with Cinema King Productions. And if you're new here, consider subscribing and like this live stream and share it with others so they can join in. We'll be looking over at the live chat, and we already see some people there. Hey, Eamon. And yeah, if y'all have any questions about myself, filmmaking, or Raef and music, go ahead and put them in there, and we'll both be checking it out and answering them as they come along. So, without further ado, please help me welcome Raef. And you're on, my friend. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Mustafa. How's it going?
Good. Doing great, man. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good. Can't complain. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. First of all, I want to say thank you again so much. I know you're a very, very busy man, creating your music, creating your content, and taking the time out to come on Real Time and share your experiences and hopefully inspire others to get into the creative space as well and talk about your latest music video, Dear America. So again, thank you so much.
Pleasure's mine. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive right in and just have a couple of questions. You know, let's wind the clock a little bit. And why don't you just briefly introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know you?
Sure. My name is Raef. I am from the beautiful state of Maryland, here on the East Coast of the United States. And I write and sing songs.
Awesome. Any particular genre that you fall into?
I write and sing songs that mean a lot to me, and I guess it would fit under the faith-inspired type of music. I would maybe under folk rock or folk rock music, I guess, or country folk music. I guess maybe that would be the category of music, but
Fair enough.
People listen for themselves and they can decide for themselves what genre it fits under.
It's very great stuff that you come out with, mashallah, and it's like, you know, yeah, I would categorize it more country, folklore, semi-rock, you know, and it's you know, a feel-good kind of music, which I really very much enjoy, alhamdulillah. And so you were born and raised in Baltimore?
Not Baltimore, actually. I'm closer to DC. I'm born in DC and then raised in Maryland, just northwest of DC into the state of Maryland. I'm actually an hour away from Baltimore.
Oh, I see. Awesome. And originally, where are you from?
My folks are from Egypt, North Africa.
Awesome. Where in Egypt?
Let's see. My mom is Alexandrian, and my father is from north of Cairo.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So, I guess moving along, I mean, how long have you been, I guess, playing guitar and or singing for?
I would say, let's see, 2004, 2005. So maybe 15 years, 16 years, something like that.
That is amazing. I mean, what, I guess, inspired you to get into it in the first place?
I mean, I've always liked music, and so it's just, for me, it's a form of expression. It's how I express my happiness, my sadness, my confusion, my anger. I like writing as well, so it just seems like a good fit to write and sing songs.
Was your educational background in music?
No, actually not. The music and guitar and writing is just, it's been a hobby slash passionate hobby slash now it's my main
career
thing. So, but yeah, now it's my career. But prior to that, my college education is in computer science, and but music has always been a passion of mine, something that I enjoy very
That
much.
is a very major shift in careers. I mean, what I guess convinced you to take the plunge to make it your full-time career?
It wasn't really a plunge; it happened slowly over time, I would say. Um,
So were you
it,
working in the computer science field
yeah,
before?
I worked as a software developer for about a year and a half. Quit that, then I started teaching. So I was an educator for almost a decade. So I
Oh
taught high
wow.
school in the Maryland public school system. I taught computer science as well. But I've always involved music in everything that I did. And then slowly but surely, it just occupied more of my time and
Right.
more of my space. And so, yeah, it wasn't a plunge per se. I didn't
Right.
just quit
Like
and
I don't
yeah,
care what you say, mom and dad. I'm just gonna pack my bags and just do what I want to do, kind of
yeah,
thing, right?
it wasn't like that. No,
It was just a slow, steady
it was
incline
slow over time.
transition. Yeah.
Like I said, I taught in the Maryland public school system for almost a decade, and during that time, I would spend my nights and weekends and summers doing music
Oh
until
wow.
music took more of my time, until it made sense for me to sort of leave teaching and then focus more on music.
Wow. That is incredible. Were there any challenges, I guess, that came along the way when you were in the transition going from an educator in computer science to being a musician?
I think anytime you're in the arts, the common challenge is not really being able to plan as well with a scheduled job like working at a company or at a school. In my case, you kind of know what your income's going to be every 2 weeks or every month, and you kind of have a set schedule and you build around that schedule.
Right.
With music or arts in general, it's there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of unknowns. Your work and your schedule can become very busy very fast for a short amount of time, and then it can be very calm and loose for a long time as well. So that took some adjusting. I'm still adjusting, to be honest. It's never like I said. There's no schedule. It's just kind of
It's a
whatever
never
comes.
ending.
It's just a
Uh,
roll.
yeah.
It's just a roll.
So
There's a level of uncertainty that can be stressful at times, but
for sure.
also liberating at times because you have more control over your schedule. So, alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah.
I'm okay.
That is awesome. Um, Let me see. A quick follow-up question. So, I mean, how did you, I guess, get on the map, right? What was the project that you felt you were starting to get more recognition and people were starting to notice you and, kind of take off in your music career?
Like I said, I think for me, I'm sure it's different for everyone else, but for me, it was a very slow and gradual um, map or graph, I would say.
Yeah.
But I was in a rock band right when at the end of my college days and first few years out of college, and Mass Youth National had a competition called Voices for Change, and they were soliciting artists from around the country to submit their work, and we submitted our work. Long story short, we won the competition, and the prize was to tour with Outlandish. This is, I think,
Right.
2008, 2007.
Yes,
I
yes.
think
Mass is Muslim American Society, correct?
Muslim American Society, their youth department had a nationwide competition, music competition. And
That's
so
right,
the
yeah.
prize was to tour with Outlandish. I think it was 6 cities or 5 cities. Again, my memory's kind of faded in that
Right.
sense.
It's
And
been a long
so
time. I do
it
remember
has it
when it was happening.
2008 or 2007. I think 2008 or 2009.
I'm
I don't even know. You'll have to look that up.
yeah.
But I think that was the first time where I performed on stage in front of a larger audience. Most of the times we were performing in our basements to
Yeah.
our family members and at coffee shops or metro stations.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that was sort of the first experience for me performing in front of a larger audience with like a full sound setup and stage and lights and all of that.
What do you
Um,
remember from that experience? I mean, was it nerve-wracking? Was it like
It was
anxious?
exhausting.
Like,
It was
yeah.
exhausting, and it was strange because I'm not sure how it happened so quickly. Where you
Mhm.
have a no-name band basically that's out of nowhere is now touring with at the time one of the biggest bands in Europe, Outlandish.
Right.
Um,
They were based out of
and
Denmark, and they were
uh,
really grabbing attention because they signed with Sony, I think, and they
Great
were
band.
really,
I love their
yeah,
music
yeah,
till now.
amazing stuff, amazing stuff. Whenever it comes up on my playlist, I'm just like, God, it's so
Shout outs
good.
to Assam and Lenny and Waqas.
Absolutely, yeah,
And so that yeah that was an experience that was quite memorable. But going from performing to like groups of 5 to 10 people to suddenly hundreds of people
yeah,
was definitely an experience.
absolutely. Um, so I guess from there we can transition into your most recent music video, or even before we can talk about that. What was the process like? Was it through that competition, that you stuck out from your group, and Awakening said, "Hey, we'd like to have you come on board and sign with us." Like, how did that happen?
So actually, no, Awakening came much later. I joined Awakening in 2012. So
Oh, I see.
from 2007
Hmm.
to 2012, I actually our rock band just disbanded because one of my band members, Rabia, had to go to Dallas actually to work for a helicopter company. I forgot what the name of the company was,
Cool.
and Meher, the drummer in our group, um, had to go for medical school, so we couldn't perform any longer.
Right.
But I still had passion for music, and so I joined a national artist tour called the Poetic Vision Tour. A friend
Mm.
of mine, well, he's my friend now, but back then his name is Saad Omar. He's from Indiana. He reached out to me and he said, "I saw your stuff on Voices for Change. I have this amazing tour called the Poetic Vision Tour.
Hmm.
It's a band of artists and musicians that are traveling the country, sharing music at smaller venues."
Hmm.
And so I said, "Okay." So we toured the country. I think the first year, I think we did 2 shows or 3 shows. Second year, we did, I think, 10 shows, and then the year
Oh,
after
wow.
that, we did like 100 cities
MashaAllah.
across the United States. And so I did that for many years. Even after I joined Awakening, I was still on the Poetic Vision Tour touring. I think I was on the tour for maybe 6 years,
Wow.
and it was through the Poetic Vision Tour. I think I was performing in, I think, Princeton. I don't remember.
Hmm.
And I think at one of those shows, that's when I joined Rhodes, or I met Awakening,
Yeah.
and I joined. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, that is amazing. Just one thing, one opportunity leads to another, and you want to take. I mean, how much of a risk were you really taking, uh, like with each opportunity that came along?
So yeah, risk is there's always risk involved because with art, to make good art, you have to invest in good tools. So for music, I had to invest in a good instrument.
Yeah.
I had to invest in um, courses or knowledge-based investments so I could know how to produce, know how to create good quality music. And then there's the experience, the risk of spending time because performing live is also a skill set that you can't really get from just performing in front of a screen. And
Right.
so I was very lucky to have had that experience with Poetic Vision Tour, traveling the country and performing in front of smaller audiences. I think the largest audience we had was maybe 500 people, but on average it was about 100 people. We did masajid, we did schools, we did churches, we did community centers,
Wow.
and most of the time we were not paid, but we
Mm.
just really wanted to get it out there. So there was a financial risk because here we are paying out of pocket to share our music.
Yeah.
But Alhamdulillah, I was lucky enough to be teaching at the time, so I was still able to support myself. But I was always busy and I was always exhausted because I'm doing music at night and then have to get up
Yeah.
early in the morning, 5 a.m. to prep my lesson, go teach, grade, finish
Yeah.
that, get back on the road. And so there's a lot of risk in terms of relationships. There's less time with family, less time um, to sort of relax.
Yeah. So it's
But
a sacrifice you were willing to take, though, because you believe in it.
and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it was a sacrifice, and it didn't feel exhausting in the sense that I didn't mind doing it because I was enjoying it, and I was growing as an artist, and I was growing as a writer, and I was growing as a musician, growing as a
Mm-hmm.
performer, and I was meeting people in every city that I went to. I met new people, and till now, alhamdulillah, I have like a network of friends
Yeah.
that I've built over the years just through my music. And
Yeah.
it wasn't just the performance, it was before the performance, after the performance, meeting with people who came to the show and asked questions about your songs and about your writing process. And then through that, you start to question your own process. Okay, how can I improve my writing? How can I improve my song?
Right.
What am I missing in my message to
Mm-hmm.
the listener? And so, okay, so the next song I gotta improve that. The next song I gotta improve that. And
Yeah.
so over time, so I did what Poetic Vision tour for like 6 years, and I've released my first album in 2014. So I joined
Wow.
Awakening 2012, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
performing since 2006. So
Mm-hmm.
it was 6 years of performing live, and I hadn't had any album releases
Mm-hmm.
or recorded material of my music. Maybe some live recordings, but I didn't have any like official releases for my
Mm-hmm.
music until 2014. So from 2006 to 2014, it was just that building process and that growth. And I'm
Yeah.
still growing and I'm still learning. It's for me, it's a never-ending thing because there's musicians out there, there's artists out there who have grown much quicker than I have, and who I can learn so much from. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a never-ending process for me.
I see, and that's a really, really well insightful information to have. That's amazing. Like just all that happening all at once. I guess what inspired you to get into the industry in the first place?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just music is so beautiful, and it's such a
Mm-hmm.
it's such a beautiful tool. That's how I've always seen music.
Mm-hmm.
Melody has the power to change your mood, to carry a message, and all too often I've seen that tool misused. And I mean,
Right.
if you turn on the radio today, if you listen to Spotify or Apple Music or any streaming service, the majority of
Mm-hmm.
music out there, if you look on the top hits and everything,
Right.
um, the melody is beautiful. The music and the production is amazing. It's like ear
Yep.
candy. It's delicious to listen to.
Right.
But unfortunately,
Addictive.
very addictive, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
Catchy.
a lot of the song
The
lyrics or
core.
the
The
messages
the core
that are
messaging
being,
exactly.
or even like the non-core messaging, right? That's being
Yeah.
communicated through those songs is not very helpful, in my opinion. It
Of
can be
course.
harmful. It's not carrying a very positive message. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a frustration that I had before I started doing music. And so in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, it was an inspiration for me to figure out how to understand this tool and try
Mm-hmm.
to be as best as I can at it. I still have a lot to learn, and then
Mm-hmm.
use it in whatever capacity I can to create music that is of high quality, but with an incredible message, or a message that is uplifting, or a message that
Mm-hmm.
invites the listener to think, that invites
Right.
the listener to have empathy, that invites the listener to feel a certain way, a
Mm-hmm.
positive way.
Yeah.
So that's been my inspiration.
That is beautiful. I mean, I'm translating. Like I'm hearing you talk, and I'm translating it into like, film terms. Like if your story is the production can be amazing, it can be visually appealing and all, but then it's like, if the story is not so great, or if it's just a bad message that that's been an idea that's not for the well-being of humanity, it's just being pushed over and over again. What's the benefit of it? There isn't. It's just causes more and more corruption, and the the domino
And this is
effect
and this is
starts from
why
there.
this is why art is so important, so beautiful. The
Yeah.
visual arts of filmmaking, music, even
Yeah.
writing. painting even. It's a skill that needs to be developed and improved. But then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what am I going to be using this skill for? If you want to be
Purpose.
if you want to be an entertainer and your end goal is just entertainment, if you want to entertain and that's
Mm-hmm.
your end goal, then really your message doesn't matter a whole lot, right? You
Right.
can just create something that sounds amazing, that entertains, and you will have achieved that intention and that purpose. However,
Yep.
if you have a higher a purpose to your art and you want
Mm-hmm.
to uplift humanity, you want to address certain ills in
Motivate.
society,
Yeah.
you want to motivate people to change for the better,
Mm-hmm.
then your task becomes a little bit more challenging, but
Mm-hmm.
more fulfilling if you can actually achieve it. It's
Absolutely.
harder to make positive, uplifting music because your message has to be. You have to actually think about your message. It's not
Yes.
just you're not just creating entertainment. You're not an entertainer, and that's
Yep.
it. So
It's
it's fun.
100% nail on the head. I can't I can't even. It's just it's so profound, and you are speaking truth, my friend, and I'm glad that we share that in common. So let's kind of go more into your career. What was the very first music video that you had released?
Hmm, I'm not sure to be honest. uh, it might have been.
I'll tell you this: from my first time, I guess, being introduced to you as a musician was through your cover of "Without You" by Chris Brown.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah. So I did
and
a lot of covers, even when I was touring.
yeah,
I did a lot of covers, and I love doing covers because, I listen to music
me
quite
too.
quite quite a bit, and when you listen to someone's song,
Yeah.
and you like it, you want to learn it. So I would sit there, and that's how I learned how to play guitars, by listening to other people's music and then trying
Hmm.
to cover it. And when I cover it, I try to add my own sort of interpretation of it. And so
Hmm.
when I was touring with the Poetic Vision Tour early on in my career,
Hmm.
um, if you when you're a new artist and people don't know you and they don't know your music, a lot of times it's difficult to perform for an audience that doesn't know any of your songs.
Yeah.
So you'll sit there and you'll sing all your songs, and it'll be the first time for them to hear it. So they
Hmm.
can't sing along. They don't know what to expect. And
Yeah.
so again, this is I learned this through the process of performing live, that you always want
Hmm.
to sprinkle your performance with songs that are familiar to what the audience knows. And so I'll
Hmm.
choose Michael Jackson's "Man in the Mirror." I did that song quite a
Yes.
bit. I chose Jason Mraz's "I'm Yours."
Hmm.
And a lot of these other songs that I connected with, that I enjoyed singing,
Hmm.
and that the audience knew. And so it gave an opportunity for the audience to sort of listen to a new interpretation of a song. And so even when I started recording content and putting it on YouTube,
Hmm.
um, a lot of my initial stuff was covers. I think my
Hmm.
first original song was "So Real." That was the launch of my album in 2014, and then the song after that, I believe, was, oh no, before "So Real," I think it was "You Are the One." It was a cartoon video,
Yes, I remember that one.
and so I think
It's
I think
a halal relationship.
yes, a relationship song, a love song.
I love a beautiful love song, and it was. I mean, in one word, I would say it was very cute. It was very cute. I absolutely liked it. I remember when that came out. That was 2014, correct?
Yeah, well, then launched my album in 2014. I'm not sure which one came out first, "So Real" or that one, or they came out around the same time, within the same
Right.
year for sure.
Absolutely. So I guess fast forward, or rather, I have another question before we move on. Did you ever receive any kind of backlash from the community at large, or a particular community? Anything like that happen?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have. I have. I mean, I've had my fair share of backlash, and it's fine. It's okay. It's my community. When you love your community, when you love
Hmm.
anyone, when you love your community and you feel part of your community, you're willing to withstand a little bit of that backlash because you know that it comes from a place of love. And
Yes.
I know that it comes from also a lack of understanding. Back
Mm-hmm.
when I started performing on stage, especially within the Muslim community here in the United States,
Yeah.
there was a lot of confusion or apprehension towards performing with a live instrument. And I
Mm-hmm.
perform with my guitar, and that's just how I do my music.
Yeah.
And I remember at one event, the uh, the brother asked me to perform my music, and I said, "Is it okay if I play with my guitar?" He said, "Yeah, no problem. We're open-minded. You can perform with your guitar, no problem." And I've always
Right.
performed with my guitar, but to my surprise, right before I went on stage, he said, "Look, is it okay if we let you perform with your guitar? But we're afraid that the audience might be so shocked to see a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So is it okay if we have you perform on stage, but we'll bring the white screen down in front of you so they don't see you performing with the guitar?" And so, I laughed at that and I said, Jazakumullah khairan, thank you so much, but you can just play my music online and say Raef's performing behind the white screen. Uh,
Right.
but
That's the whole
people,
point. That's the point of like live performance, right? It's an experience when you see somebody they're actually performing. It's not just playback all the time. It is real talent. It is real art being demonstrated in front of your eyes as you're experiencing it, as you're hearing it. So it's supposed to invoke those emotions that you as the
but
artist
but
are
at the
trying to
same time,
convey.
so I've had a lot of musician friends in the past and even today who would feel so offended. I mean, it was offensive. I'll be honest. It was.
Mm-hmm.
It's like asking. I'll tell you why it's offensive. Maybe your viewers will understand it if I say it in these terms. If you hire a plumber, and this plumber is known to be an excellent plumber, and this
Yes.
plumber, he does everything. He does pipes, he does toilets, he does showers, he does all of that stuff. And you call him to your home to do some plumbing stuff,
Yeah.
and he is known as a plumber, and he does his work as a plumber very well. But when he comes to your home, you say, okay, look, now this just for a second, you can I'm inviting you to my home so that you can fix my plumbing, but I don't want you to use the wrench, and you're not allowed
Exactly.
to use any of your plumbing tools. Just do it without your tools. And
Do it
then
with your
the
hands.
the, the plumber's like, but I'm known as a plumber to use my tools. How am I like? How does that make any sense? You know me as a plumber to use my tools, and now you're inviting me to do the plumbing, but without my tools. How does that work? So that's how it feels when someone says, "Hey, can you come perform?" People know me as a musician. They see my
Yes.
videos online with guitar, but
Yeah.
when they invite me, they say, "Can you not use the guitar?" So in that sense, yes, it is offensive. However,
Yeah.
I understand the sensitivity behind it, and this is what I would advise my musician friends: is try not to take it so personally, because there is a sensitivity towards music within the Muslim community, because there is a valid fiqhi opinion regarding the impermissibility of music, and so that
Right.
that is an understanding that I have and I respect and I understand. And so through that lens, my response, and I would encourage fellow artists who are watching to always respond with respect and understanding, and
Yeah.
just say, look, for me, I don't perform except without my instrument. Thank you very much, but I can't. I will have to, decline that. And it's kind of hard to decline that, especially if it's your
Livelihood.
livelihood. If it's your livelihood, and someone's like, "Hey, can you perform?" and you will pay you for this performance, and then you have to turn it down because you're holding yourself to a different standard. It's not
Right.
easy, but at the same time, if you don't meet your own standards, then you're never going to meet your standards. And so that was a
100%.
challenge, and that was difficult to hear. And it's happened several times throughout the course of my career. I've had one. This is actually pretty funny. I was performing on stage, and I was doing I started with Talal al-Badru Alayna and some of the more traditional Muslim songs, and then
Yeah.
I did a cover song. And so this sister, I think this was in North Carolina, I believe, in Charlotte, I believe. So this one sister came on stage from the audience, and she tapped me on my shoulder and she said, "Assalamu alaikum." Assalamu alaikum. She said, "Excuse me, are you Muslim?" And I've never had anyone ask that to me before. And so
It's
again, I
interesting.
always try to hold myself and try to control my sort of reaction to these things and try not to take
Yes.
it so personally. But no one has ever
Yeah.
asked that to me before, so I paused for a second. I was like, "Hey, how should I respond?" And I said, "Yes, I am Muslim, And
Yeah.
I asked her sarcastically. I said, "Are you Muslim?" Of course, she was wearing hijab, so I was like,
Yeah.
"Duh." But at the same time, like even when I asked her, "Are you Muslim?" she looked at me like, "What's wrong with you?" But in my mind, I was thinking, I just sang "Tala al Badru alayna." I said "Assalamu alaikum." I responded
Right.
to your salam with "Wa alaikum assalam." This is a Muslim event. I think it was a Eid event.
Oh
And
my
then and
lord.
then and then you asked me if I was Muslim. So that's cool. Yeah, I am Muslim. And then she
Oh
said,
my.
if you're Muslim, why are you singing? Why are you singing? I forget the name of the artist that I was covering. Why are you singing I think it was Coldplay. Why are you singing a Coldplay song? And I was like, what? And then she just got off stage, and I was like, and that was at the beginning of my performance. So throughout the rest of my performance, I
Just
had
put
to
a
use
bad taste in your
so
mouth.
much mental energy to push that event away because I was constantly thinking about it. Like all of what I'm telling you right now, I was thinking in my head while I was performing. Why was she asked that? Did I say or do anything that made her think that? And
Right.
it's a cultural thing. People are sensitive to it. I understand it. Let's move on.
Right. And move on. That is insane. That I Are you Muslim? Well, yes. Are you? That is so funny. Wow. Okay, so moving on from there, um, let's talk about your latest music video, which, if y'all have not watched it, it is down linked below in the description. Dear America, a beautiful song. Like I listened to it over and over. It was just absolutely amazing. When this came out, and that's when I had to reach out to you and say, bro, I would love to have you come on the show and talk about this because of, not to get political, but just, what 2020 has meant in terms of the American culture and what we've been facing, the challenges and the social issues over and over again. The song is so powerful. The visuals are so powerful. So I want you to, just walk me through where this came from, how it just came about, and then partnering up with a director and cinematographer and a whole team, like how this whole project came together. Like, just walk me through from the very beginning. What happened? What started this?
So from the very beginning, it actually starts from a song before Dear America. I have a song called Home, and it's a song that I wrote um, that reflects the belonging that many of us feel to America. And we released it 2015, right when Donald Trump was starting to run for office, and right off the bat, his message was anti-immigrant.
We're gonna ban Muslims from coming to America.
Well, first he started with labeling Mexican
Right.
migrants as rapists and drug bad people. All the things that he said and build the wall, that whole
Yeah.
rhetoric, and then he started to spew his anti-immigrant
All of it is
rhetoric.
garbage, by the
And
way.
so, right, and so when we released that song, that song was meant to reflect the uniqueness of American society in the sense that it's one of the few countries in the world, if not the only, where it was built by a collective of people from all around the world, including Native Americans. So you have people from all
Yes.
around the world coming to America and making it their home, much like Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, who
Sallallahu
left Mecca and he made Medina his home, right?
Yes.
So the chorus of the chorus of the song rather is "Home is where the heart is," and so home is not
Yes.
where you're born. Home is not where you actually physically live. Home is where you feel at home, where your heart is. And if you love your home and you want what's best for your home, then you're going to do everything possible to improve the quality of life in that home. That you're going to care for the people in your home. And so that was released in 2015. And between 2015 and now,
Yeah.
a lot has happened. A lot has changed. And Home was a very happy, upbeat, happy-go-lucky type of song.
Yes.
Even the melody and the style of music and the lyrics didn't really address any of the ills of society. It was just addressing
What home
the
is meant to be
the good
felt
nature
as.
of the good nature of American society and how it was built
Yes.
by immigrants and natives. Really, that was the feeling for Home. But since then, a lot of things have happened, and a lot of things that didn't happen new in the last 4 or 5 years. But it was happening before. It just got more pronounced or more exposed over the last several years. And so
Yes.
in 2019 is actually when I wrote the song, Dear America, when I was creating my second album, Mercy. I wanted to write a song about the pain that America is feeling and about the pain that many Americans are feeling. We're feeling like we're being ripped apart. The society itself is ripping apart, that we have two or more sides of our society pulling in opposite directions. And social media has gotten to the point where we're all screaming at each other and no one's listening to the other side. And
Yep.
social media encourages this type of behavior where you post something and you get applause and likes and shares from those that share your view. And so you feel like everyone has the same viewpoint as you. So when you start talking to someone or you see someone who has a different view than you do, then you can't
Yep.
imagine that that person exists. And so
Yeah.
our conversations are happening in very toxic ways.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to write a letter to America saying that this is perhaps one of our last chances to get this right, that we're so far apart. And it may lead to very unfortunate circumstances like we're seeing nowadays where some say we're inching towards civil war. I hope it doesn't get to that point. But at the
Yeah.
very least, it feels like everything's ripping apart. No one wants to listen to the other side. No one even wants to talk to the other side. And I feel that it's because of a lack of empathy. It's because of a lack of caring for one another, the spirit of just really wanting for your brother what you
Understanding.
want for yourself, for loving for your brother and your sister what you love for yourself. That is
Yeah.
completely thrown out the window.
Yes.
And so I wrote that song in that spirit. I tried to highlight what I felt were the pressing issues of American society and why it's being ripped apart and how we can move together. So that was written in 2019, and as the 2020 election started to ramp up and the divisive rhetoric from both sides started to really get sharper and sharper, and people are calling one side is calling the other side evil, and the other side is saying
Just
you're
name
evil.
calling. Yeah.
It's just it was getting really out of hand.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the ills of our society are getting worse. The deep racism that we have, the huge gap between the rich and the poor, our neglect of the most underserved in our society, ripping families apart at the border. I mean, how did we get to the point where that's even okay? And I
Yeah.
know that started even before this administration, but it's gotten to the point where it's being acceptable. That
Yeah.
displaying racist behavior is now acceptable. It's not new, but it's become more acceptable, and so
Mainstream. Yeah.
it's become mainstream. And so when the rhetoric for the 2020 election started to ramp up, and the divisive nature of that whole campaign started to ramp up, and I must admit, a lot of it was coming from President Donald Trump, who's supposed to, someone who is in a leadership position is supposed to be calling for unity and
Yep.
calming, and he was doing the exact opposite. And so
Division.
complete division, and it's just pitting one side against the other.
Yes.
And so I told my director friend, Enes Stolba, he's a very talented director, based out of Virginia here on the East Coast. I told him we need to make a music video for this so that so we can communicate that message. Because when you have a song, the song carries a message, but if you have a powerful video that goes with the song, that message is carried out even further to larger audiences. That's the hope, at least.
Absolutely. And so I wanted to talk about that actually for a second. Even though your lyrics, as powerful as they are, simultaneously the visuals, you highlight, the symbolism of Black Lives Matter, right? With one of the people taking a knee, like in reference to Colin. How do you say his last name? Kaepernick, thank you. And then, white supremacy and ICE, like you said, at the borders, families being literally ripped apart and held in detention camps under, inhumane circumstances that are beyond. And then coincidentally, is that the word? Coincidentally, today is Veterans Day. So first, let's salute to our veterans who have served. And in the music video, you did show a homeless person who was a veteran of the Vietnam War, right? As they were pushing a cart of their belongings with the American flag. And then so powerful, like just putting on his glasses and you see, a major like broken glass, like almost like a bullet wound kind of thing. I mean, it'd be too small, but still very, very powerful. And I mean, how did that collaboration, happen?
So I mean, I wish our my director friend Anas was here, because much credit to him and the
Yes.
cinematographer Ahmed. They're the real genius behind the what you see in the video. They're very clever with how they place everything, and there was a lot of research behind that. So we would sit.
Absolutely.
I think we planned this for weeks, and we storyboarded it. There's the sad thing about all of this is that there's so many things that we wanted to cover within a 3 or 4 minute video.
Right.
There's only so many things that you can cover, so we had to pick and choose.
But they were all powerful.
Because I mean that goes to show you how many things are wrong with society, and how, and how can we make all of this better? How did we get here in the first place, right? And again, many of these issues have been there for a long time, and they have been there since the inception of America itself. They just have been more pronounced, I believe, in the last 3 years. They become more exposed. They become more acceptable, if you will. And so a lot of those issues, like the families being ripped apart, the veteran that's pushing. I mean, it's sad that this is such a common thing, that veterans, people who
Serve their country.
First of all, I'm very anti-war. So I mean, the fact that we say that we have people, that we have to ship people off to foreign countries and to put their lives at risk for
in the name of freedom,
for causes that are not even beneficial to us. And one of the reasons why we chose the Vietnam War was the Vietnam War, much like many of the wars that our country has been involved in, was a complete waste of life. Most wars have been a complete waste of life. The Iraq War, both Iraq wars, right?
Yeah.
Devastating. How many people have lost limbs, have lost lives? Their lives have been shattered. And then
not just the veterans, but the civilians on the other side.
But for people who celebrate military culture and who say we must, respect our veterans. Okay, fine. You want to respect veterans for fighting in an unjust war, but then on top of that, when they come back, there's no support for them. There's no medical support for them. Many of them have lost their jobs. They're suffering from the injuries of war. And so there's
mental illnesses as well.
There's injustice on every level. That's why war is a terrible answer to a lot of the problems that this world faces. And so,
what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, there are situations in which war, of course, is inevitable.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, most of the wars that we have been involved in have been completely devastating for everyone involved. And so, that was highlighted in the film, or in the video. Of course, racism runs deep in a lot of the issues that we see. One thing that I would like to point out in the video, and I thought it was pretty interesting, was when I wrote the line. What was the line? Whatever happened to when our kids could be free, safe in their own space, free to learn and be. I believe that's the line. When I wrote that line, I wrote it in. It was during the time when there was a lot of gun violence,
mass
a lot of mass shootings in school. I mean, which is crazy in and of itself. So you have gun violence is another major issue.
Yes.
So I wrote that, but ironically enough, with the pandemic that came in, now that line took on a whole new meaning,
Yes.
that our kids can't play, are not free to learn and be, and
Yeah.
how are they not safe anymore now? So before, unfortunately, many of America's children were unsafe in their own schools
Yes.
because of school shootings, and now because of the schools are shut down because of the pandemic,
Yes.
our school shootings have gone away, ironically again. But
Hmm.
at the same time, kids have lost their ability to socialize, and many of them are struggling to learn because they're not able to attend school.
Hmm.
So that was an unexpected interpretation of the song, because when I wrote the song, I didn't know there was going to be COVID-19. No one knew that there was going to be a pandemic.
Nobody knew. Yeah. That is amazing. I mean, again, guys, if y'all have not watched it, the link to the music video is down below. And of course, support Raef by buying his album Mercy, and as well as subscribing to his YouTube channel, also linked down below. And subscribe here as well while you're at it. So, kind of going off COVID-19, how has that affected your process of music creation?
It's
Or
been
rather,
terrible.
has it been a blessing in disguise?
It's been terrible. I'll be honest. It's been, alhamdulillah, of course, for everything. And everything is an opportunity. As terrible as it is, it's an opportunity to learn and grow in a different direction.
Alhamdulillah,
But
I've been thriving during this
alhamdulillah,
COVID.
that's good. That's good.
Alhamdulillah.
That's amazing.
But anyway, so how has it been for you? I mean,
So, I mean,
since
for me, I mean,
yeah,
as a performer, I mean, I spend a lot of my time
on
performing
the road, yeah,
in front of live audiences, traveling and sharing music live. And so ever
yeah,
since, what was it, April or March, I haven't had
mid March, yes.
I haven't had a single live performance. I've had
Hmm.
online performances like Zoom performances, but they're not the same. They're
They're not
just,
the same.
I'm
No,
singing to a screen. It's like not
you
even
can
close.
you don't feel the atmosphere, the vibe of the
No,
room. You can't introduce,
I hate to
something
say,
uplifting.
I mean, I
Yeah.
try, but I hate to say it's just not the same. And so I've been struggling with that. That's always been, and I don't see it coming back. It's that's the thing. Like
Right.
because you don't know when this ends.
Hmm.
SubhanAllah, it's a test. You just don't know when this ends. There's no like light at the end of the tunnel. So
Yeah.
you're just kind of staying there, wondering if you'll ever be able to perform live again. I mean, that's really what's going on in my head. I haven't performed
Hmm.
live in a long time, so I'm like, can I still do it? If it ever
Right.
does come back, will I still be able to perform live? It's been weird. On the other
Yeah.
hand, I've had more time to sort of to write and record, and
I was
but
about
since
to say, like, I feel like there's going to be more allocated time for, actual new
creation,
creation. Yeah.
it's true. However, I just finished my second album, so I was kind of taking a little bit of a break. And usually,
Yeah.
when you finish an album, you want to go out and share it, perform it
Right.
live.
You do the tours
So
and things.
I was in that part of the cycle where you record, write, record, and then you share, promote, share, promote. So I was in that share promotion stage. So I was like, oh man, you know, now I have to shift gears into that. However,
Hmm.
alhamdulillah, I've also been writing a lot of and producing a lot of children's music. So
Hmm.
I have a project that I'm working on called Mini Muslims.
Mm.
It's a sister company of Awakening Music, and so I've been busy with that. So that's also a blessing that we're
Alhamdulillah, that's great.
it's a new project, something new for me. I don't do children's music until this project, and so there's a lot of children's songs that I'm writing and trying out with my daughter, and then if she approves, then we release. If she
That's
doesn't
awesome.
approve, then I have to wonder why she didn't approve. So
Yeah, that is amazing. I do want to ask. I mean, how how do you go about creating a melody for an original song? Like, it's always so easy, like you said before, like, to do a cover of a song, right? Something's been established, people already know it, it's been out there, and then you change the lyrics up, you change the instrumentation to fit your personality. All right, so you can ride that wave, but then how do you come up with something completely original that nobody has done before?
I would say there are no rules. As it is with art in general, there's no rules. I
Always
mean,
inspiration from here, inspiration from there,
I mean,
kind of thing.
there's guidelines, and there's sort of common practices that people have when it comes to songwriting or music production. However, there's no one right way to do it. It depends on the person. It depends on the song. It depends on. So for me, sometimes I start with the melody. I don't have lyrics. I just just noodling around on my guitar, and I'm like, oh, this sounds kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm feeling a certain way, so let me try playing this melody, and oh, this sounds good, or this doesn't sound good, so let me
Mm-hmm.
try this, let me try that, and then when I have that, so I have I have a chest box that's just a folder on Google Drive where I
Right.
kind of throw whenever I have an idea, I just record it and throw it in there, record it and throw it in there, and so
Mm-hmm.
when the songwriting process begins, I dig through that chest I have of
Yeah.
ideas, and I tag the ideas. I say, happy or sad, or just
Mm-hmm.
with different tags. And similarly, if I have song lyric ideas,
Mm-hmm.
like a poem that I'll write that down in my Google Notes, and I'll throw that in there as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so when the songwriting process comes, sometimes it's mixing and matching some of these lyrics that I wrote with some of the melodies and snippets that I have. Sometimes it works that way. Sometimes it just comes in overnight. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
comes in over a long time. There's no rules.
Yeah.
Just kind of whatever works.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, it is more and more challenging, like with these different spaces like film and television, and then also the music space, to kind of stick out and be an original. My thinking, and you know, it's somewhat annoying, like they've done this with film as well, but I'm sure it's also in the music industry where, you know, specific scales in music are meant for certain emotions, right? And certain melodies are meant for certain emotions. Same thing, but then it becomes more technical, and like it's a cookie cutter versus being more emotional, right? When you're trying to evoke an emotion through your art. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, within music itself, there's certain chords and certain melody structures that communicate a happy feeling or a sad feeling or an anxious feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
the better you are at your craft, the better you are at matching which chord and melody to the meaning that you're trying to communicate. People who are very talented in that sense can produce that right away.
Mm-hmm.
Others, like myself, I have to experiment a lot and try to figure out, what works, what doesn't work. I may have to do a little research. I may ask a friend who's
Yeah.
more talented than I am in music theory and music production, and say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about this? What ideas do you have? And then, so there's a lot of sharing, there's a lot of collaborating, there's a lot of sort of experimenting that goes into that as well.
That's awesome. I mean, do you usually have a team around you when you're going through songwriting, or is it just you solo in a closet with your paper and pen?
So when it's songwriting, it's usually me. Sometimes I'll share it with a few people just to get their thoughts. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the production side, yes, there is.
Yes, of
I work
course.
with the producer. I work with session musicians. I work with people who are very talented at their craft. So
Mm-hmm.
a guitarist who plays guitar in an epic way, or a
Mm-hmm.
pianist, or an epic drummer. I can't
Mm-hmm.
do any of those in the way
Right.
that they can do it, and so that's when we bring in um, uh, talent for those specific parts, so that we can create a high quality song. Because if I do
Yes.
everything, it's not going to come out right. Because
Right.
I am not a talented guitarist or a talented pianist or a talented producer, um, and so we have to bring those guys in to fix that.
Absolutely. So I guess to wrap things up, um, would you have any, or what advice would you have for anybody in the creative space, whether it be music, whether it be photography, filmmaking, whether it be painting, whatever? What advice would you uh, give them?
I would say my advice is to seek opportunity. A lot of times people hear from artists, or artists like to say, follow your dreams, go to the extent of your dreams, and just follow your dreams no matter what, and they will come true. I don't believe in that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think follow your dreams is good advice. I think sometimes it can be bad advice, because a lot of times when people follow their dreams without being self-aware, they can actually ruin their lives. They can ruin their
Mm-hmm.
financial situation. They can ruin their relationships. They can.
Right.
It's not very good advice. It's not very good general advice, right? I
Mm-hmm.
would say I could give that advice to someone that I know specifically who's been
Mm-hmm.
working on their craft. So I would say follow opportunity. So if you
Mm-hmm.
are, let's say you are a passionate, or you're passionate about photography,
Mm-hmm.
then follow opportunities that come your way. And depending on your circumstances, if you're financially well off, or if you have a full-time job, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can dedicate more of your time and take bigger risks. Not everyone is in that situation. Some people are not financially well off. Some people have family obligations. They have to take care of their children or their parents or their siblings. So they may
Absolutely.
not have as much time. So it's not fair to tell everyone to follow your dreams and, screw everything else. That's not very
Yeah.
good advice. So I would say,
No.
be self-aware of what your talent is, what your passion is. And
Yes.
sometimes people think that they're an amazing photographer or think that they're an amazing singer, and they surround themselves with people who are just clapping for them, saying, "Oh yeah, you're a great singer, keep going." But the reality is, maybe you're not so good at it. Maybe you can enjoy it as a hobby, but if you're
Right.
not honest with yourself, self-awareness. So the
Absolutely.
first piece of advice is follow opportunity, and not your dreams. Follow your opportunity, and which will lead to your dreams. And second piece of advice is to be self-aware, to know truly what you're good at. Surround yourself with critics, not people who are clapping and cheering you on. And I think that's one of the problems with social media is that we post something, we are waiting for those likes and that validation. And so when someone criticizes your work, it feels bad, it feels terrible. When in fact you should be pursuing people who are critiquing your work, because that's how you're
Yes.
going to improve. That's the only way you're going to
Absolutely.
improve. That's how you're going to know if you're truly good at what you think you're good at.
100%. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Raef, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on to Real Time. Inshallah, the best for you and your future projects. Everybody, make sure you check out his stuff. Link is down below. Check out Dear America. Like it, share it. Amazing music video, amazing message. Make sure you let everybody know about it. Raef, I will get with you in just a moment. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Mustafa.
Alrighty, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Real Time. If y'all did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you hit that post notification down below. And we are almost at 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you hit that button. I would really, really greatly appreciate it. And as always, Mustafa Talib with Cinemaking Productions signing off. See y'all later.